Welcome to the Someone Gets Me podcast, where you'll hear stories of inspiration and hope realized. Hosted by Dianne A, intuitive empowerment mentor who specializes in working with people who want to be freed from being stuck in life. You will hear personal stories and professional insights, along with tips on how to conquer overthinking, procrastination, and more. Here's Dianne.
Hi friends, it's Dianne, and I'm here today to talk to you about a subject that is so near and dear to my heart, something that has been part of my journey and part of my mission and part of my life for many years, and that is hope. You know, many years ago, some of you might know this, but I was called the Hope Agent because I was running a fairly large treatment center for people who were suffering from addiction, and a woman came in and she was very desperate, and I was talking to her about what I could do to help her and what our services were at that particular center. And she looked at me with tears streaming down her eyes, sobbing, and said, "Is there hope for me?" And I looked at her with this just great love from my heart to her heart and said, "Of course there is." And so she successfully worked through the program and did really well. And near the end of her time there, which is about 90 days almost, she looked at me and said, "You know, you're a hope agent, because if you had not said there was hope for me, I was not going to make it anymore." And that moved me. It still moves me. That happened many, many years ago. And since then, people have put that word hope with something that I offer. And initially, I didn't really see it in the way other people did. I was just being me. I was just being Dianne, doing Dianne's thing, the best I could to make people's world better and our world better. I didn't really connect with that word as being part of my experience or the experience people had being around me. So fast forward another decade, and sure enough, that word is back. And I feel it in a whole new way, and I experience hope in my whole life in a whole new way. And I'm hearing it again over and over from people, all different kinds of people. I was speaking to one of my clients who on the outside seems to have everything, and he was struggling, and I said, "It's going to be okay. It's all going to be okay," giving him hope, right? He exhaled this exhale and said, "Wow, I needed to be reminded of that." And so I think on all levels, all of us, no matter who we are, deserve to feel hope and experience hope. And sometimes we need to be reminded that there is hope in the world and things can get better, even when life is messy and uncertain and chaotic and weird, that underneath all of that external stuff, the distractions and the interruptions, our heart yearns for hope, our spirit yearns for hope, and we can be that vessel to bring hope to others and remind ourselves of hope. Today, I want to talk about 4 essential phases of growing that hope within you. Because you might be listening and you might not have a whole lot of hope right now, or you don't think you do. Or you might be somebody like me who spreads hope all over. Or you could be any combination, right? Because we're all a little different, and we all experience life through our own autobiography and our own way. And there's no wrong way. There's just our way. So I think the better question is not, is it right or wrong? I think the question that we should be asking is it working? Is the way I'm living my life really serving me? Is it working? Is how I'm approaching things working? If you have an undercurrent of malaise or disenchantment, then that's your spirit. That's the grace of spirit trying to help you wake up so that you have more hope. So let's talk about your hope realized. So the title of this episode is Hope Realized, 4 Essential Phases. Now my book, Hope Realized, has come out recently. It's a daily meditation journal where you can read a word of the day and a quote, and then I unpack the quote, and then there's homework to do, like a little application for each day, and then a place to journal how that went for you. And it starts with day 1, so you can start it on any day and you can jump around or however you want to do it. And it might be a great text for you to begin to focus on hope. So that book is available in all bookstores and on Amazon, of course, Hope Realized. So let's look at the phases and let's look at hope as part of who we are. Because when we look at our future or we look at the chaos around us in our world today, it's really easy to get upset or frustrated or discouraged. The uncertainty, the loss, the grief, all of the divisiveness can really take a toll on our hearts. It's not easy when we're looking outside of ourselves. So let's see hope as an inner state of being, as a way that we are on the inside that then radiates out of us into the world. Now, we live in a culture that teaches us everything is external and then it has, it affects our internal world. Well, what if we shifted that a little bit and we started to say, if I hold the state of hope in my heart and in my spirit and I radiate it out, much like turning up a dimmer switch and making the light brighter, then my world becomes more hopeful and it changes things. So that's how I see the world. Like, how is my heart and my soul and my spirit and my mind and my body aligning to bring something that is peaceful and hopeful and joyful to the world? Like that old oil lamp. The oil on that oil lamp is all that goodness within us. How bright is your light? If you have a lot of hope, your light is brighter. So it can go up and down. And I notice that anytime I'm feeling less hope, it is because I'm looking outside of myself. I'm watching what somebody else is doing, or I'm comparing, or I'm giving things power. And what I have learned over all my years of working on myself is that my destiny is up to me, right? So I need to see how I handle things. I can't change what other people are doing, but I can change the power it has, and I can change how I respond. So the 4 phases start with the phase 1, and that is the phase of awareness. A lot of people are like, what? And I go, yeah, awareness. Pay attention. Heads up, right? There's so many distractions and so many interruptions in our world that most people aren't even paying attention. There's people who are distracted when they're driving. In fact, I noticed the other day that almost every time I'm behind cars, and as soon as the light turns red, everybody in front of me, always, or not always, but a lot of the times, is on their phone or distracted in some way. So the light turns green and they sit there and sit there. Sometimes they catch it right away. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes somebody has to honk. But I notice it all over. And the other day I was thinking about when I was younger, actually like when I was a teenager and earlier, before cell phones and all of this distracted driving stuff in our cars, the light would turn green and people would be bolting through like it was an immediate hit the gas, immediate. Now it's, you got to remind them or else they'll miss an entire light cycle. I sat behind a car in a busy intersection that went through one entire light cycle, 5 minutes. I was there almost 10 minutes total, waiting for that person to go. Everybody was getting around them. When I finally got around them on the next light cycle, they started going, and then they drove faster than anyone else. That's dangerous. So we need to pay attention. Those people are not paying attention. They're not only not paying attention outside of themselves, they're not paying attention within themselves. Screen addiction is another form of lack of awareness, right? People always on their phones. There's research that shows it increases anxiety and it creates difficulty thinking and processing, especially in young children. In fact, screen addiction in children has been showing to decrease their IQ points by up to 10 points. That's like a standard deviation. That's a problem, right? We really want to start focusing and having awareness within. So what's your awareness of? Well, our awareness is supposed to be of our inner dialogue. Like, what are we saying to ourselves? Is it supportive, kind, and loving? Or is our internal dialogue negative and harmful and mean and condescending? What about your emotions? Are you paying attention to the energy that tells you you're alive? Are you noticing how your body feels? What's happening within it at different times? And what about your attitude? Is your attitude one of open-eyed hope and joy and happiness and peace and excitement and wonder? Or is your attitude one of negativity and heavy and pessimism? Those things will color how much hope you feel and experience. And what about the people and the events in your life? What about them? Do the people in your world support you? Are they uplifting? Are they realistic? Can you count on them? Are they trustworthy? And how are you with others? When someone you care about is struggling, are you there for them in a helpful, positive, hopeful manner? How is it working? That's what awareness is about, paying attention to what's really going on, first within you and then outside of you. First within and then outside, not the other way around. So in a world where we're all disconnected or invited to be disconnected and interrupted and distracted, it's so important to increase our awareness. So in a world that wants us to be numb and just follow the crowd and not think for ourselves, in a world where critical thinking is less and less obvious, I'm inviting you to become more aware, use your critical thinking more, and expand your inner world so that hope can take root in your heart. So pay attention. Come off the phones and come off the screens and come off the numbing agents and let yourself be aware of how your body is and aware of how your mind is and your emotions and your spirit. Pay attention. That's number one, awareness. It's a big one because every day I have to catch myself even being more and more aware, but I also see other people just completely not paying attention to what they're thinking or how they're doing or what's going on around them. You see it everywhere, and I'm sure you're guilty of it too. So step one, if we want to have hope realized, is to pay attention, be aware. Phase two is about attunement. Attunement is so important. To attune means to pay attention, to align ourselves. What's your gut telling you? What's your heart saying? What's your body feel? Do they line up? If your heart is open and feeling love and passion and your head is pessimistic and your gut's all tied up in knots, that's not attuned. They're not lined up. If we're not attuned and aligned, then it's very difficult to have hope as a sustaining experience. So the awareness in phase one helps us see where attunement could really serve us in the next phase. And you notice I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. It's about being aware and then lining up without judgment or without any kind of self-cutting down or anything like that. It's just about going, my head's thinking this, my heart's thinking that, my experience in my gut is different. So let's breathe a little bit and see how we can get everything lined up. I've been in the personal development world for years, and they always say your head and your heart, that 18 inches is the longest road of all to open that up. And that's true. I have an amazing client that I've worked with over some time, and she goes, I live from the neck up. And I kind of grinned and said, and that's why we know each other. Because living from the neck up only and not awakening your inner soul and not awakening and attuning to your heart and your gut will lead for a very depressing, sad life. If you feel those heavy feelings, a lot of times it's because your head's running the show and your heart and your spirit and your gut are trying to get your attention. So this attunement is very important. My nature friends, my herbalist friends, I love them. They talk about attunement with plants and with nature. Like when it's a full moon, I have selenophilia and I go out and I just stare at the moon. I'm connecting and attuning to the energy of that moon. It's beautiful. My neighbor has a huge oak tree in her backyard. It's probably 150 years old. And the branch, one of the big branches goes over my yard, and I'll sit out underneath it and just be with that tree and attune to it. Can I feel it? That trunk is so sturdy and the leaves and the branches move so freely. Where am I in all of that? Can I be aware and conscious of it? The rhythm. That's what attunement is. It's about getting off the screens and out of the disconnection and the numbing and really letting ourselves inhale and exhale and breathe and be in and connected to what is in us and what is around us. feeling the air coming in and out of your body, the breeze on your skin, everything in minute detail. Now, some of you might not be paying attention to any of that at first, or listening to me and going, oh, that's ridiculous, and that takes forever. It takes practice, and it takes paying attention. It takes a willingness and a desire to see life differently, more hopefully, right? It's not hard, though. It just takes focus and attention. So when you're aware that your body's disconnected and it's not aligned, the next obvious step is to attune it and get it aligned. Musicians tune their instruments, right? Athletes fine-tune their training. My massage therapist fine-tunes exactly what area of what muscle to work to release what's in my body that it has it out of attunement. It's in every field. So attune yourself. Take time every day. Tune into your body. How's your little toe feel? What are your eyes feeling like? How's your back? Are you bending your spine backwards and forwards during the course of the day? Or are you sitting and humped over? And not a natural way for our human body to be, which will then put you out of attunement physically. So phase 2 is an interesting phase where we're always kind of working on it. We're paying attention to how am I tuned in. Sometimes I'll be walking and I'll notice that my shoulders are turned in more because I was just sitting at a computer. So I consciously roll my shoulders back and remind my body that there's other ways to be tuned in. So try it for yourself. If you're sitting down right now, move your shoulders, move your head. See what position is even more comfortable than you already are. And I'll bet you'll have more awareness. So breathing, are you breathing? I hope you're breathing, right? But I mean really breathing, paying attention to your exhale and your inhale and slowing your breath down enough so your body can actually receive the oxygen and actually discharge the carbon dioxide. I see so many people breathing so shallow from the top of their chest instead of from their lungs that their body doesn't really have enough ability to get oxygenated. In fact, I was teaching the breathing to oxygenate your body and to a group of people I was working with, and one of the women raises her hand and I asked her, what question she had. She says, I don't have a question. I just want to share that I was just in the hospital and they had the oxygen monitor on and I'm not getting enough oxygen because I don't breathe enough. I said, right. When we don't get enough oxygen, the brain sends emergency signals to the rest of the body that feel much like anxiety and panic. Most of the people that have some form of anxiety or panic or upset, first thing I say is breathe. If you get oxygen in your body, you will feel more hope. You will feel more alive. You will actually be able to experience a better, richer life. That simple, yet it seems so elusive, right? So we could go on about that forever, but we're going to move on, right? So phase 1 was awareness. Phase 2 was attunement. Phase 3 is aligned action. Notice how they're all A's, right? Aligned action is really important. Action's my favorite word, but aligned action is even better because that means that once you get your mind and your heart and your gut all aligned, that would be coming from phase 2, that attunement, right? Then we take whatever action internally and externally that supports that alignment. So hope springs out into the world from that aligned spot, inside out. So many things in this world are so seductive that to pull us away from who we are and to keep us distracted. Because if we can be distracted, then we can be controlled. So being aligned from the inside out is actually a radical idea. People think it's weird or off and make fun of it, those people who want you distracted. But really, it puts you in a place of personal power and authority in your own life. When you're aligned and you're taking proper action, you can then behave and speak and think in a way that actually supports your hope, that supports you moving forward, that helps you feel more aligned. And your actions then continue to expand and unfold and create a better, more rich, deep experience of hope. You'll also be happier and have more joy. So you're being asked to pay attention to your alignment and to the timing of things. So if you're wanting to do a certain thing or make a project happen and it feels like there's a bunch of walls, take some breaths. Wait for the timing. Because remember, Your timing is from the inside out, but you are also impacted by the timing of your environment. That doesn't mean you have to change. Sometimes it means yielding. And whenever I think of yielding to perfect timing in order to win, I cannot help but think about running backs, good running backs in football. They know how to pause just enough for the offensive line to open the hole for them to get through. If they just barreled forward and they didn't have the ability to pause and cut and make decisions quickly, they would not be stellar like they are. The good ones, right? You can watch them. The good ones are able to find the opening because they can yield for that fraction of a second. They tune in spiritually and emotionally and mentally, almost like they can see what's going to happen before it happens. Those are the great athletes, right? That's because they're aligned. They're in the zone. You watch it when you see sports on TV, or if you're playing them, into the eyes of somebody who's so dialed in and so focused that their action is only toward one thing. Anything could happen around them and it wouldn't matter. They're heading for whatever the goal is for them. I race sailboats, and it's the same thing with us. When we're dialed in and our actions on our boat are aligned, and my mind is in the game, and my heart is open, and my gut is following what I intuitively know about the sport that I've been doing my entire life, my outcome is always excellent. And I always have hope, and I have a smile on my face because all of me is aligned. And my action comes from that alignment. If there's a big decision you're making or something you just want to do easily and you're not aligned, it's going to be harder and more difficult and sometimes not come out the way you want. So back up for a minute, stop what you're doing, take some long, slow, deep breaths and check in with your heart and check in with your mind and check in with your gut and ask that inner part of you to come into alignment, for all of them to be working in harmony. That's what that means. They're all together in the same spot. Then you will be able to pay attention to what the next right action is. Then you'll be able to pay attention to the timing and how you want things to go in a way that serves you and serves others. Alignment is important if you want to get rid of stress and if you want to have a better experience of more ease and flow in your life. So aligned action is phase 3. So we have awareness, paying attention, always important. Then phase 2, we have attunement, which is getting everything aligned up, right? It's paying attention on that deeper level to the rhythm, the seasons, how things are really going on the inside so you can radiate it out. And then phase 3 is having aligned action. While you're aligned, your mind, your heart, and your gut, and your body, of course, you take proper action. And so phase 4 of Hope Realized is to assess your progress. Now, the assessment part is really important. Some people think that word assess has negative meaning to it. And in fact, when I presented the idea of assessing our progress, I heard, well, you don't judge it and this and that. And I'm like, well, that's not the definition I use. The definition I use for assess is to check in. Are my actions leading me to the place I intend? You know, when you're driving your car or even an airline pilot flying a plane, we're always fine-tuning. On our sailboat, we're always fine-tuning. If you're going to do well, the people who just set it and leave it, which there are those people on the yacht racing world, they don't do as well as those of us who are continuously fine-tuning, using all of our resources to check all the available and moving parts of a sailboat. There's lots to it. Same thing with driving a car, same thing with flying airplanes, all of these things. Our life requires fine-tuning. If you just are going to go work out and you're going to go to the gym and you just do everything without paying attention, which some people do, you get some result, but not the kind of results if you're mentally, spiritually, and emotionally in it, so that you can then have your inner environment dictating how you show up. So the assessment part is really important. Because if you say, okay, I'm going to make progress and I'm going to eat healthier, say, and you have to define that specifically. So healthier might mean to you, in fact, I have a client doing this right now, healthier means to him that he's going to cut out white sugar. And he wants to cut out some other things, but he's doing one at a time. So I said, okay, how will you know if you're successful? Are you going to not eat in restaurants? Are you going to read labels? How are you going to know? Other than the obvious, not having cake and candy and things. And so he wrote it all down, and then he meditated on it. And he spent time like, is this really what my mind and my body and my soul and my gut and my heart, all of me, is this really important? That's how he's going to keep his hope. And that's how he's going to have it all together. He's aware of the issue, doesn't want to have white sugar. He's attuning to all of his parts of his being. And then he's choosing the right action. So the assessment part is then either at the end of the day or the end of the week saying, was I successful? Was I able to do it? Did I do it? Now, if he didn't do it, that's not time to beat yourself up. It's time to say, okay, well, what happened? Does it matter? What's going on? Is the issue really white sugar, or is it something else? That assessment opportunity gives you a chance to become even more aligned, more alive, and take a deeper look. Now, we live in a society that does not want us to look deep and does not want us to think critically about what's really important from the inside out, because that would make you a free-thinking, amazing human being. And it's easier to control people when they're numbed out and disconnected and distracted. So it takes courage and guts to look in deeper and say, what is it that keeps my hope alive? And are my goals really my goals? So there's a lot to the assessment process. Now, hope thrives when you're aligned and you're assessing things, because it helps you stay focused on your higher vision, your heart's desire. It lets it come out. And so that part of the assessment process is so vital. I used to not like the assessment part because I thought it meant I was right or wrong or good or bad. And now, as I've grown in my awareness, that's not the case. It's not because I'm right or wrong or good or bad. It's giving me feedback, like a mile marker on an interstate. If I was to go out and get on the interstate and I started at mile 1 and I need to go someplace 100 miles away, I will notice as the mile markers go, I'm getting closer. It's the same idea with our life. There's no finish line, and it's not about right or wrong. It's about, am I headed in the right direction? If I'm starting at mile 2 and I need to go to mile 100, and next thing I know, the next mile marker says 1, I'm going in the wrong direction. So I either need to turn around or change my destination. Something needs to happen. So frequent assessment times really help out. So for some things that might be difficult, you might want to assess your progress more than once during the day, or maybe at the end of the day. Some other assessment process might be weekly. Some might be monthly. Yearly is always too long. The average person assesses their life on New Year's Eve when they're impaired, and birthdays ending in zeros. And that's not very effective, right? So we want to really pay attention to our assessment time. Now, it's also good to have another person involved in your assessment time, with them understanding that it's really simply about feedback, like a curious kind of feedback, like, what worked really well? What isn't working so well? Is the goal still really the goal, or do I want to fine tune the goal? What's going on? Because without that kind of curious checking in, assessing where we are, we can be off course for a very long time and not know it. We can be really busy because we're distracted, but we think we're making progress, and we wake up one day and we're going completely in the wrong direction. So this is a very important part. It's an opportunity to bring hope into a whole new realization in your life, where you can actually realize that open heart and open mind and spiritual connection of the essence of who you are. And when I'm talking spiritual, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about you being so connected to who you are and what you're here for, whatever that is, that you smile when you think about it, because it's you, and only you have your mission. Nobody else has the same one. So those are the 4 steps of hope realized, the 4 essential phases. Phase 1 is being aware, paying attention. I say heads up ball. I have a friend of mine who plays football, and he always says, don't let the ball touch the ground. Same thing. Pay attention. Put the phone down. Listen to somebody without checking your phone every 5 minutes. Try going out with a friend and leaving all the devices in the cars. If you want to take a selfie or you want to take a picture, do it in the parking lot or something. Shift it up a little bit. Phase 2 is to be attuned. Pay attention to your mind, your heart, your gut, your body, all of you. Are you lined up? Are they all speaking the same language? Are you breathing fully and deeply and allowing oxygen to be in all the cells of your being so that you make good decisions and you're fully aware? Then phase 3 is taking aligned action. That once you're attuned and you're paying attention, that your action aligns with the proper things that serve you and your ongoing connection. That's where your hope comes from, right? Is knowing that your heart's desire, and your mind and your body and every part of you is taking action in a direction that has ease and flow and grace to it. That takes you where your heart and your knows you're meant to be. That's aligned action. And then phase 4 is to assess your progress along the way. It's very easy in our world to get distracted, to take a wrong turn, or get on a detour and not even realize it. Or maybe be on a detour we think is little, but it takes much longer or is more distracting than we realize. So have times, a frequent opportunity to assess, am I on track? Am I going where I need to go? What's going on? So that no matter what, I have the opportunity to make adjustments and changes. Always stay focused on your vision. Always let your heart lead the way. Your mind is meant to serve your heart, okay? Not the other way around. And then reserve the right to make a change if you wish, because you do have free will. You can change. The more opportunities you take to assess your progress, the more opportunities you have to fine-tune and adjust things or outright change them. So hope realized. Hope realized is a way of living. It consists of reasonable daily actions that are focused and support your vision and your heart's desire for your life because you're aware and you're tuned and you're aligned. Hope rises and becomes so evident in all parts of you when you're living your vision and you're focused on all the possibilities. Our hope tends to wane and kind of fall into the background when we're out of alignment or we're distracted by something outside of ourselves. It's so seductive. Fear is seductive. Pain is seductive. Grief is seductive. So staying focused on being hopeful in a time of transition or uncertainty or chaos takes great focus and guts from the inside out, So when you notice that any part of your life is not working the way you would like, off kilter a little bit, stop right what you're doing and take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Exhaling first, letting it all out, inhaling and then pausing and letting that oxygen fuel your cells, and then just do that. Inhaling and exhaling just for a minute till you can finally feel your shoulders drop. And then ponder this question. Is my head aligned with my heart? What's my gut say? How is it all lined up? Seeking and allowing that inner alignment through your breath and your focus will then afford you the ability to see how to move forward for your highest good, so that your hope and the way you operate take you quickly toward where you're going. It's so important. Hope realized is an ongoing daily activity. It's a way of living. So I hope these 4 phases have served you, and I hope that you practice them. In the book Hope Realized, you have 366 different days with different quotes and words that support these 4 key phases and ideas. So thank you for listening to this episode today. And through the rest of the episodes of here at Someone Gets Me, you will hear from many people of things that have created hope in their life and how they're taking their unique special gifts and paying attention and being aware and attuned and aligned and assessing things. Because in reality, no matter what it looks like on the outside, it's the same process for all of us. So until the next episode and the next time, I would like to remind you to keep your face toward the sun so the shadows fall behind you and you realize who you are, that amazing, brilliant rock star that you are. So put a smile on your face that reflects that inner joy and inner hope, and allow yourself to be all you're meant to be. Until next time, be well.
Thanks for tuning in to Someone Gets Me. To find out more, please visit Dianne's website at MissDianneAllen.com. That's MissDianneAllen.com. Be sure to take a second and subscribe to the show and share with anyone that you think may benefit. Until next time, remember the world needs your special gift. So let your light shine.